Joining me in the studio is our environment editor Valerie de Kemp, and from New York, Johannes Muller, the ocean policy expert at Ocean Care. Valerie, first to you, bring us up to speed. What exactly is this treaty about?
Well, you could say that the high seas are a vast no man's land of ocean. And if your objective is protecting the ocean and marine ecosystems, well, you need a treaty to govern what has not been governed so far in the high seas. So the high seas are mostly international waters existing outside national borders. And so they're not part of the internal waters of a specific state. They're located about 400 kilometers away from the coastline, so very remote areas, and they cover more than half of the globe's surface. Now, up until now, only areas along the coastline were protected, and just 1% of the high seas came under a network of protection with conservation measures. And so this treaty now is considered to be crucial to achieving a goal set by countries of protecting 30% of the world's land and oceans by 2030. We know, of course, that oceans are under immense pressure from climate change, from pollution, from overfishing. And so far, the mindset has been, when it comes to the high seas, kind of on a first come, first served basis. And this needs to change, essentially. And that is the hope for this treaty.
Johannes, if I can bring you into this discussion now, it took more than 20 years for countries to land an agreement on how to protect international waters. The agreement was reached in March. But why did it take so long?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think, well, first of all, we have to appreciate that processes in international diplomacy take their time. And the second thing is that this treaty has four main components. So it deals with marine genetic resources, it deals with area-based management tools, which include marine protected areas. It includes with how we want to assess and manage human activities in the high seas, so through environmental impact assessment, but it also contains a component on capacity building and the transfer of marine technology. And these are very complicated legal questions in and of itself, so it has taken some time to develop this agreement.
Valerie, what's your take on this? Is this treaty indeed a turning point?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can go back to some of the things that our guest mentioned, which are quite technical, and really look at how this treaty will work in reality. And I think that there is a real opportunity to give more teeth to marine protected areas because they are an essential tool in the protection of marine ecosystems. And so as we speak, marine protected areas can only be created or mostly in territorial waters. And so now with this treaty, we're going to be able to create marine protected areas in international waters, in areas that are unique. They will also be created on the proposal of states, not just NGOs, as it is the case in the majority of instances now, and they will be approved by with a 3/4 majority. And so there's not going to be a veto by any other states, which have really slowed down the creation and the protection of certain areas in the high seas. And there's also what Johannes was mentioning, marine genetic resources. And so what exactly are we talking about? So it's genetic material of deep sea marine sponges, bacteria, seaweed, and those resources are getting a lot of attention now from the scientific community, also commercially, because they could have a lot of value for medicines, for cosmetics. And so part of this treaty, and that was what was so controversial, and there were a lot of tensions when it comes to marine genetic resources. Now we're going to have a framework to really govern all of this, and I think that is the major opportunity.
Johannes, the creation of marine protected areas is a pillar of this treaty. Are there any biodiversity hotspots or areas of high interest that should be prioritised in moving forward?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And the High Seas Alliance, which is an organization of a lot of NGOs that have been following this process from the very beginning, they have identified 8 sets of marine protected areas, and I would invite you to check out the website and to get more information on that. So there are already potential candidates for high seas marine protected areas in play.
I wonder as well, I mean, by definition, the high seas are very remote areas. It's very hard getting to those areas very specifically. So how exactly can we control those areas? I mean, what about the technology available in order to achieve that goal?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the treaty provides a number of elements that will help implement and control what parties do when it comes to this treaty. So there's some monitoring requirements, but there will also be an implementation and compliance committee that will be set up that will follow up on the objectives of the agreement. But in terms of surveying what happens on the high seas, I mean, there is satellite technology that's being developed. There's new innovations that are coming up that will really be a game changer in how we can survey what happens on the high seas.
Johannes, obviously governments all play an important part in all of this. Do you believe that this campaign and this treaty will get the support and backing that it requires from state actors?
That's a very complicated and interesting question, but I think yes. Especially when I think back to the times of the last few days when the treaty was finalized in March, we really saw that governments were engaged and that they showed strong willingness to compromise and to find a way forward in agreeing this text. So yes, I think we will get strong support from governments on this.
Johannes Muller, who is from Ocean Care, and Valerie de Kemp, France 24's environment editor. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much to the both of you.